If you are trying to sell your home in Ottawa right now, there's a pretty decent chance that buyers are walking away from your house, and the real reason never makes it back to you. Now, sure, your agent is going to follow up for some feedback after the showing, but what they're getting is probably the polite version. The thing that actually crossed your home off of that buyer's list often never makes its way into that conversation. That usually stays in the car between the buyers as they're driving to their next showing or driving home. If you're somebody who's selling, this is the feedback you're likely not getting. And if you're buying, this will function as a checklist for you. Now, one thing I want you to kind of hold on to before we get into the rest of the video is we are not in a raging 2021, 2022 market anymore. Inventory is up across all market segments, and those options make people picky. A few years ago, buyers overlooked a lot of this stuff because they were just scared of missing out and wanted to get into the market. But today, they'll just wait for another month or two until a house around the corner comes up, or there may even be some other more suitable listings on the market for them right now. Almost none of what I'm going to talk about today means your home is bad if they have them. It's more about whether your home is an easy one to cross off of the list given all of the other options that are out there. Number one is that the price plus renovation math just doesn't work for the buyer. I'm starting with this one because it's the most common one that I hear, and it's kind of a common thread that's running through all of the other ones that we're going to go through here. Buyers don't just come to a showing uninformed anymore. They know what's sold on the street. They've probably run comparables a lot of the time before they even show up for the showing. And they've watched prices in the neighborhood come up and be sold or come off the market over the last few years. And they're not just comparing your place to what the last price sold for and bidding based on that. They're adding to that price whatever needs to be done to bring your home up to that standard. Whether it's the kitchen, the furnace, the roof, they're going to notice whether those things are different than the recent comparables. And if your price plus that reno cost doesn't make sense for them, they're just going to wait because that sense of urgency that was there a few years ago is just no longer there. Number two is that the home feels like a money pit. And this kind of ties into number one. But if a buyer walks into a house and there's an original furnace, a roof that's clearly near the end of its life, windows that are foggy because they've lost their seals, they stop seeing a house and they start adding up repair bills. And with inventory as high as it is in most sections of the market right now, they don't have to take on those repair bills if they don't want to. They will wait for a new house down the street to come up onto the market and move on that one instead. Now, if your home has been priced to account for all of these things that need to be done, then you're fine. But most of the ones that are sitting on the market for 30, 60, or 90 days right now have not priced this stuff into consideration. Number three is another big one, and that is location. A few years ago, a home that was backing onto the 417 or sitting on the side of a busy road like Hunt Club or Maryville still sold near top dollar with multiple offers because people were just desperate to get into the market. But that market is over now. Buyers drive by before they even book the showing a lot of the time. And if there's a busy road or it's backing onto a commercial lot or hard up against the edge of the greenbelt where there's going to be future development, a lot of them just never step inside. And if they do, they realize quickly that there's going to be traffic noise. And this is something that unfortunately there's not a whole lot you can do about. You can't renovate yourself out of an unfavorable location. So if you try to price your home the same price as the one that's 2 blocks away on a quieter street off of the main road, it's going to be an easy no and you're going to be crossed off the list. Number four, and this one can be a little bit tricky to talk about sometimes, but it is important, is that the seller seems like they're difficult to deal with. Things like restricting showings to a 1 or 2 hour window every day, selling the property as is, or saying right in the listing that you won't consider any repairs while asking the full price. Sometimes there's a real reason for this, like a tenant who needs 24 hours notice or works from home and has a busy schedule and won't allow showings. But fairly or not, buyers read these restrictions as a preview of what the negotiation is going to feel like. When buyers are working out the logistics of seeing 6 or 8 homes in an afternoon, the awkward one that has the showing restrictions often just gets dropped from the schedule. So it's important to make it easy to get into your property. In this market, that friction alone can be a reason to move on when there's a plethora of other options available for every buyer. Number five is that the house is on the wrong side of a school or immersion boundary. Now, Ottawa families often plan to a surprising degree around school districts. This was one of the things that surprised me most when I got into the business, but it makes sense, especially now that I have a kid. The school catchment boundaries are seemingly random, and there can be houses in the same neighborhood just 1 or 2 streets apart, where one is in a better school district than the other. A great home that's located just 1 street on the wrong side of the school district or is in a catchment area that the family doesn't want quietly loses to a lesser home on the right side of that same line. Buyers often check school board boundaries before they even book a showing, and they definitely tend to look before they put an offer in on a property. If your home's school story is a weak one, family buyers will often cross it off their list and never tell you why. Item number 6 is that the yard doesn't have enough privacy. Ottawa buyers tend to want usable outdoor space, families especially, and so do people relocating here from busier, more expensive markets like Toronto. And with all of the infill housing going up under the new zoning restrictions, the small doubles and fourplexes, privacy has quietly gone from a nice to have to a scarce must have for many people. If the listing promises a private backyard, but the buyer shows up to see that it's a postage stamp with a small deck staring into a fresh 3-story infill next door, that's going to be an instant no for many buyers. Number 7 is carrying costs and condo documents. Buyers run the full monthly math before they make an offer most of the time, and it's not the sticker price necessarily that's scaring them away. It's all of the extras that are coming into play as well. Now, the main culprit here, of course, is condo fees, and especially a condo that has any sort of history or of special assessments or large fee increases. This stuff is going to be uncovered in the status certificate review and will scare away many people. The other things they'll take into consideration are the property tax, HST if it's a new build, although many of those will get a rebate now, and the land transfer tax, which is one of the biggest checks that they're going to be cutting out of their bank account when they buy, other than the down payment itself. Now, there's a small silver lining in Ottawa when it comes to the land transfer tax. Unlike Toronto, there is only one provincial land transfer tax that we pay. In Toronto, there's actually 2. You pay one to the province and one to the city, and it is literally twice as much. So we're lucky in that way to live in Ottawa. Number 8 is one that comes up when you get outside of the main part of the city of Ottawa. Ottawa encompasses places like Constance Bay, Dunrobin, Greeley, Manotick, parts of Cumberland as well in the East End. Plenty of homes out there are on well and septic rather than on a centralized sewer system. Now, people who grew up in the country, this won't be a big deal for, but I find anybody moving out of the city and who doesn't understand these systems well quickly gets nervous when we start talking about them, especially if the septic or the well is a little bit older or showing any signs of issues. This will be something that they just immediately won't want to deal with because they don't understand quite how much it's going to cost or quite when it's going to go. And there is some truth to this. I mean, a septic system that needs to be replaced, you quickly get into the tens of thousands of dollars. And a well, it's kind of the same depending on what you need to do to it. So a lot of buyers just don't want to deal with this. Number 9 is also very Ottawa specific. And when this is going to be posted, it'll be extra relevant because we just had kind of a flash flood in parts of Nepean. But it's flooding exposure and the insurance surprises that can come along with stuff like that. The big insurance risk out west is wildfires lately, but here in Ottawa, it's flooding and wiring, and buyers are checking on both before they go and view a property, or definitely before they make an offer. Flood exposure is a real risk along the Ottawa River. Places like Constance Bay, Cumberland, Britannia, all of these areas were hit very hard in the 2017 and 2019 floods. Savvy buyers and savvy agents are going to pull a property on Geo Warehouse and look before they go and do a showing or put in an offer to see if it's in a floodplain. And in older homes, the insurance headache is often inside the walls rather than outside. Knob and tube or aluminum wiring or something like an old oil tank or Kitech plumbing, all of these things can cause issues with insurance. And if you have any of these things, these will often prompt buyers to walk away. Now, number 10 is something that's become much more of an issue lately because of the increased inventory. When buyers have as much choice as they do, they stop compromising on their non-negotiables. And if your home is missing one of those non-negotiables, it's just going to cause them to no longer consider it. Common ones are a garage, especially in Ottawa because of the winter, a finished basement or a certain number of bedrooms. A fenced backyard is another really common one. And something that I'm finding is becoming more and more common is a legal secondary dwelling unit or a proper basement apartment for if they have another generation, either kids or parents moving in, or if they just want that convenience when people come and visit. If you're missing too many of these, buyers won't negotiate anymore. They'll just see that it doesn't have that quality that they want, and they'll walk away or wait for something else that's more suitable to come to market because they know that's likely to happen in a market like the one that we're in now. Now, one of the main things I want you to take away from this video is none of these things mean that your home is bad. No home is perfect. It's about whether or not your home is worth the money next to everything else that's currently on the market. Your job as a seller isn't to have the perfect home. It's just not to be the easy one to cross off of the list. If you get the price right and make a home as accessible as possible to buyers, even a flawed home will sell. If you miss on the price, even a beautiful home that you can go and see whenever you want will sit on the market for a longer period of time. So if your home has been sitting on the market for longer than you'd like, don't assume it's that you have a terrible house. Just run back through this list and be honest about what your home is offering and what it's not compared to the other properties that you're competing with on the market right now.